so I stopped being lazy. Yeah, and I became creative. And I learned how to create it. And now that pride's for me. So come see, oh come eat.
Welcome to the Silver Lining Podcast. This is yours truly, Sterlington. This video is going to be a reaction and review to the Falcons Steelers Week 1 of the 2024 NFL season. Definitely disappointed in the outcome of the game. Wasn't fully surprised by everything, but I was definitely surprised by how bad the offense looked from a play calling perspective. So when I watched the game, when I only watched it live, don't have a chance to rewatch the film. Maybe at some point we'll go ahead and get a game day pass or something to review all of that. But what I saw was a predictable offense. I've been seeing a lot of the stats. The Falcons basically didn't run a single play action play. The Falcons ran a bunch of plays. I don't think they ran a single play under center, or maybe they ran one play under center. And I don't think we ran any plays out of any play action. No, we didn't run play action at all. I think we threw it 80% of the time that we were in shotgun, and it was some other. No, it was 100% of the time in shotgun and 80% of the time in pistol. So it was just a completely inept game plan, and that was disappointing because in my preview, the play caller was one of the things I thought we might have an advantage on. So one of the things I did enjoy about being right about in the game is being right. When I watched the game, the Steelers offense was what I thought it was going to be. A lot of people were scared that Justin Fields was going to turn into Justin Fields that played us last year at the end of 2023 when the Falcons played at Chicago. Chicago scored 37 points. Justin Fields had 300 yards and 2 tugs. So it was a rough day for the Falcons. But with this game, it was more in line with what I expected from Fields. It was going to be more short yardage passes, more of him escaping the pocket, maybe getting some third down conversions on some scrambles, something unplanned like that. But honestly, Justin Fields didn't take the game over. Their offense didn't score a single touchdown. I bet, I don't know how the Steelers fans, I didn't get a chance to see their reactions, but I know they were happy with the win, but I don't know if they feel satisfied with only scoring 18 points, no touchdowns, and thinking that that's going to be the plan for them going forward. But the Falcons gave up 18 points, no touchdowns, and still lost the game. And lost the game by 8 points. So they lost by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. And I think the other part that was disappointing wasn't just the play call; it was the way the game played out. A loss is a loss. So this game could have been a back and forth game. Come down to the wire, Steelers kick a game-winning field goal. I think a lot of people would be more amenable to a situation like that. But that's not what happened. What happened was the Falcons were up 10-9 at the half. They scored the game's only touchdown, and then came out in the second half and proceeded to not move the ball at all. In fact, if you want to really talk about the ways and situations I think that this game would have played out, and a lot of people wouldn't have felt as bad, was if we were moving the ball, but maybe, we moved the ball and, we turned it over in the red zone, or we had a 4th down and completion, or maybe we didn't score because Younghoe Koo missed the field goal. I mean, that would bring concern about Younghoe missing field goals because he had a couple of strange misses in the preseason. But if he misses field goals, or, we don't score for reasons like that, at least you see progress. At least you see the offense moving. In the second half, it seemed like the Steelers completely stonewalled the Falcons. The Falcons didn't get into their red zone at any point further. Well, they did in the third quarter. I think they had one good drive that was moving, and then there was the turnover on the snap that hit the tight end. I can't remember if it was Charlie Warner or not. But that was a brutal turnover. The Falcons had I want to say they had a 60% chance, a 67% chance of winning that game. Or that's what the odds were, 67% chance that they would win that game if they basically didn't turn the ball over right there, but then they turned it over. Have nothing to show for it on that drive. Lost all the momentum, and then they couldn't get any sustained drives after that. Now, God, where to start? So we're gonna start with the offensive line. The offensive line did pretty much what I thought they were going to do. The guy who struggled the most was Caleb McGarry. I noted in the last video that Caleb McGarry and TJ Watt had matched up before. TJ Watt did not have any sacks or any notable impact in that game, but that game plan was a lot more run heavy, and TJ Watt played that game on an injury. So he didn't really get a chance to make an impact in that game. But in this game, that guy had Caleb McGarry turning around like a spinning top, man. He had that guy spinning like a dreidel. He was just beating him with all of the speed rushes, either to the inside or the outside. When Caleb McGarry could get his hands on him and they could go, and TJ Watt tried to go down the middle of him, he'd stonewall him every time. But TJ Watt's a speed rusher, and every time he turned on the speed, he accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. I think that reflects kind of back poorly on the coaching staff. Us as fans, we watch all of the games. The coaching staff, they might have just watched they reviewed whatever film they had last year, and or maybe they just heard some hoopla about us having a grade online, so then they ran with it. I don't know. But I was completely dissatisfied with the plan to stop TJ Watt. I feel like when you have a guy like that who is coming back there, he wreaking havoc, he tearing it up. At some point, you got to say to yourself as the coach and say, all right, so what's the priorities here? Is the priorities, the priority is always scoring, but it's all based on the situation. Your priority shouldn't be scoring when you're on your own 10-yard line and it's 3rd and 7. Your priority should be getting the first down. But with the pressure TJ Watt was getting, we needed to prioritize stopping TJ Watt, even at the cost of other resources in the passing game. I saw one play where Kyle Pitts helped on Watt, and he honestly made it way worse. I think that was a play that got called back. That would have been a strip sack. But Kyle Pitts, or maybe it wasn't. I can't remember. But Kyle Pitts was on the edge. He lets TJ Watt go around him and then pushes him even further out of the range of Caleb McGarry. And I'm like, Kyle, do you not know how to block, man? Like, I know he's supposed to be a serviceable blocker, but apparently not in pass protection. Like, maybe he's more of a serviceable blocker in the run game, but like he honestly, that's a sack that we're gonna look at Caleb McGarry. I put that sack on Kyle Pitts because you set Caleb up to fail. That play would have gone better if Kyle Pitts wasn't even trying to block. That's how badly Kyle set him up on that play. But I can't let Caleb off the hook. I mean, Caleb was getting cooked. And I said that year, 2021, it was 2022 when the Steelers last played the Falcons, that Caleb got spared that year because he didn't have to go against Nick Bosa. He didn't have to go against Myles Garrett, and he caught an injured TJ Watt. And it was a close game, and it was a run-heavy game, so TJ Watt didn't really get the tee off on him. Zach Robinson said, I'll spare you none today. You're going to get whatever TJ Watt wants you to get. And TJ Watt took whatever he wanted from him. And it was a bad game for Caleb. But let's go ahead and share this around. We ain't got a pile on Caleb. Let's go ahead and get on Kirk. Kirk, he just did not look good. Now, some of that it's hard to properly evaluate with quarterbacks about how much of that you want to put on them because Zach Robinson was so bad calling plays that it's like, well, what the hell is Kirk supposed to do with that? Especially as a 36-year-old non-mobile quarterback, like he can't just abandon play calls and start sprinting, and that's a viable offense. So Kirk had that going against him. Kirk had Caleb McGarry struggles going against him. And the other hard part that may or may not be a struggle for him, we don't know, was receiver separation. Another bad part about this game that I was looking forward to that I don't think we got an answer to was we didn't get a chance to evaluate the receivers. I don't know what Drake London is going to be doing this year. I don't know what Kyle Pitts is going to be doing this year because we didn't get to see them used. We did not get to see those guys used at all. Ray May McLeod, I believe, was our leading receiver. Kirk Cousins only threw for 155 yards, I think, 155, 156 yards, something like that. And none of the plays were explosive. We didn't really get anything downfield. I don't think we got the chance to take a single shot, like a real one. Maybe he chucked one up when he had some pressure coming, but there was that. Also, the turnovers, too. Kirk had 4 or 5 turnover-worthy plays, and there was the penalties that wiped away a couple. And speaking of which, look, another discouraging thing about this game for me was we can't look at the way the referees played and say, the way the referees called the game and say that the referees were cheating for Pittsburgh. There was, so the offside one was it was close. It was one of those ones that if that were a guy in a Falcons uniform and that happened, I would have been disappointed. Mainly because of the outcome of the play, but I wouldn't have felt like we got cheated. And honestly, a lot of those penalties on the Steelers were penalties, so that is fair. But I know that OPI on George Pickens on that bomb that feels through to Pickens with AJ covering. If that play would have been Drake London on the end of that pass, and they call that an OPI, this video would be getting age restricted. This video would be getting age restricted. I would be calling the refs all sorts of insert bleep button, bleep, bleep, bleep. And no, I'd have been pissed. And I imagine the Steelers fans were pissed because they got robbed on that play. But TJ Watt had 2 sacks come back due to penalty, and they were both turnovers. But he still had sacks. He still recovered a fumble off of the tight end motion. So he had a whale of a game. Kirk Cousins had a bad game. I don't think some of the issues that I'm hearing or the concerns are legitimate. I'm hearing it about health. And he is only 9 months removed. But the examples I see of Kirk skipping passes or Kirk not really driving the ball in certain plays or whatever, when I look at the full situation and also like not just the plays that failed, but the plays where Kirk successfully completed certain passes, some of them looked the same. So like the one where I see one where people bring up him short arming a throw where he didn't get pressure to Ray McLeod over the middle. And he's thinking that that's because of his Achilles. And there was another throw that Kirk had to Ray earlier where he goes to throw the ball, a defender's about to hit him, so then he clutches the ball, ducks under, and then rifles it in there. I think that shows that Kirk will stop and see something at the last minute. On the play where he dirtied the ball, it looked like 2 defenders were there. It looked like that was going to be a pick. So he probably just dirtied that to avoid the pick, and that's what I saw from a lot of those plays. But that's part of the concern, that we weren't getting separation and that we were so vanilla and obvious in our play calling that the Steelers started to tee off and take advantage. Greg Olsen pointed out on the broadcast that TJ Watt is keying in on the snap. He saw every time Drew Dahlman, he'd look between his legs, and every time it was time to snap, he'd pick his head up and then snap the ball. And TJ Watt, he saw it, and he took full advantage of it. It was loud in the stadium because the Steelers took over, so we were having to go to silent count, so that made it even easier for T.J. Watt to tee off on Caleb McGarry. Like I said earlier, with the shotgun, if it was a shotgun, it was a pass. So now there's not even a threat of a run play. We didn't run any play action at all. So every time he sees a run play, he knows it's a run play. So yeah, I think donkey of the game got to go to Zach Robinson. The more I keep talking about it, the more I keep looking at all right, who messed up and who was really the crux of it. I have to always go back to Zach Robinson. When I look at how bad Caleb McGarry played, I say, hey, he didn't get help from Zach Robinson. When I look at how bad Kirk Cousins played, I say, hey, he didn't get help from Zach Robinson. I don't look at what Zach Robinson called and say, hey, Kirk Cousins didn't execute what he did, or that Caleb McGarry didn't do what they needed to do, or Drake London and Kyle Pitts. All these guys just didn't do what they needed to do, and that stopped the play caller. Now, on to the defense. Now, the defense gave us some bright spots. They looked very good, very competent. They were able to get some pressure on certain plays. I do want to say that I did have a little bit of moments where I was a little disappointed. Now, part of where my disappointment comes from is I felt like there were definitely drives in the second half where the Steelers kind of pushed us around. And that was a little unexpected for me because of what the Steelers were bringing out there on the field. I thought that the funny thing about predicting these games, so I predicted the Falcons to win 24-15. I think I said, it's not going to be a full 10-point victory, but it'll be like a 2-score, but like a small 2-score, like a 9-1.1. And maybe that might even involve a late game score by the Falcons to, expand the lead. Excuse me. And I said that the Steelers would score 15, and it'd be an unconventional 15. It's not going to be like two touchdowns with a 2-point conversion. It was going to be like a bunch of field goals or something like that, and it was. They scored 18 points. It was a bunch of field goals, and that's kind of what I expected. But where I thought the game script would change a little and help the Falcons is I thought the Falcons would put up more points, and so the Falcons would be able to take more advantage of the weaknesses of the Steelers. That game, as far as the Steelers' offense, was an Arthur Smith special. The reason why we didn't get more sacks, because I think we could have gotten more sacks, but the reason why we didn't was because, with Arthur Smith, he's going to want to run the ball so much that you can't really tee off in the pass game, and so that's going to protect certain O-linemen. Like Broderick Jones was getting made a fool of. They were putting that clown suit on him in the preseason, but he wasn't really a problem in this game. He wasn't a guy getting exposed. Like, he definitely didn't look like Caleb McGarry. So there's that, and I think a lot of the reason for that isn't because Broderick Jones is better than Caleb McGarry, but Arthur Smith protected him more than did Zach Robinson. But outside of that, I was pretty pleased. Grady Jarrett looks great. He always looks great in the beginning of the season, though. We got to make sure that, and that's what we hoping that the depth down the line is going to give us it's going to give us a chance to keep guys like David and Grady fresh throughout the whole year, so that Grady can keep that up throughout the whole year. That's typically what happens. He comes out of the gate like a barn burner, and then halfway through the season he starts to peter out a little because he's been playing way too many snaps, and it starts to wear him down. But Grady looked great. Didn't really notice the linebackers. I mean, I noticed Late Landman. Late Landman was doing his thing. Ellis was out there. Didn't really see Troy as much as I thought, but they weren't really throwing the ball, so I'm all right with that. AJ had a little bit of struggles with Pickens. Thankfully, Fields missed him on one, and there was the penalty on the other. But AJ, I'd be a little concerned depending on who we play going forward. And the next game is going to be against the Eagles, and they have A.J. Brown. So I think he'll be fine against Devontae Smith, but I think A.J. Brown might give him some trouble on certain plays. But the defense, they did not allow a touchdown. That was always great. In fact, not only did they allow a touchdown, to provide context, I want to say Chris Boswell hit 6 field goals and 5 of them from like 50 plus yards. So really, it's not even like the Steelers were like settling for field goals. They were like, those were the kind of field goals you get where you like, thank God we got something on the board. So that's what I saw. Didn't really see anything of note on special teams. We had pretty decent coverage. I heard D'Angelo Malone's name called. That was good because I was hoping. What was his name? Number 91. Damone Harris. I was hoping he was going to make the roster. I read an article by Daniel Flick at the SI, and I became a Damone Harris fan. I was like, all right, come on, make the team. But he's on the practice squad, and uh, D'Angelo Malone made the roster instead. But he made a play on special teams, so that's why you see him on the team instead of Damone Harris. So might as well get to the silver lining of this, if you will. Now, the good things that we saw, just in general, the parts that we can rest our head on and say, all right, what are we taking with us forward as a positive for next season? One of the positives, and we'll start with the offense because I tore the offense to shreds, do you say? But yeah, I tore the offense to shreds there. So didn't really notice Matthew Bergeron, and that's a plus because I noticed him last year, and I didn't really notice him. Pretty much most of the Steelers D line was quiet. Cam Hayward made a play, but mostly it was T.J. Watt, and everybody else was there, but. The O-line did pretty well. And even with Caleb McGarry, he didn't get beat every which way. He just got beat. Well, he got beat to the inside and the outside, but he didn't get beat up the middle. So, and that is T.J. Watt. So let's not act like, Caleb McGarry was getting taken advantage of by Vic Beasley or a guy who's a flash in the pan. Like Caleb, the T.J. Watt is... led the league in sacks 3 separate times. He got off to a great start this year. He might do it again this year, so that'd be 4 times. He's already unprecedented with 3. If he does it 4, that'll make him one of the best of all time for sure. I mean, he already is, but you know what I mean. And so we got to give Caleb McGarry some grace. Let's not act like he was going against a bum. He was going against a guy who's going to probably be a future Hall of Famer, a guy who already almost has 100 sacks in his career. So the O-line wasn't completely inept. That's a positive. Bijan looked pretty good. One of the pluses I did notice is that they were dead set on using Bijan. They gave him carries. They called up a lot of pass plays for him. Nothing downfield. I would have liked to have seen him get isolated against a linebacker. But they really focused on making sure Bijan got the ball. So that was another plus. Kirk has gotten his wings wet. Kirk has not played any live football since he tore his Achilles. This is his first game back. Was it a good game? No, it wasn't. It wasn't anything to hang his hat on. Would preseason have changed his life? Maybe, maybe not. I still have my issues that I have about the play caller. I don't think that changes with the preseason reps. But Kirk Cousins got the chance to knock that rust off. That's positives for the offense. For the defense, did not give up a touchdown. Were able to get some pressures. That was pretty big stuff. They get the Eagles next week, so maybe we don't keep that up. But the defense kept you in the game. And one of the concerns that I had coming into this year was that guys were saying, we had a good defense last year. It was a good defense. But I'm like, yeah, but that was last year. And last year we ran Ryan Nielsen's scheme. We're coming in with a new coach and a new scheme. Usually that kind of spoils your defense a little bit. I think about how many times as Falcons fans, we've seen, teams come in, they make the transition from a 4-3 defense to a 3-4 defense. And then that first year, everybody running the track meet on your defense because the alignments and the responsibilities are so much different that guys struggle. And then maybe next year when you get more of the personnel you want in, it works out. Now for us, I guess maybe it worked out because we were running the 3-4 before, and the 4-3 year was the only 1 year that we did it, and so most of these guys that we have on the roster this year played when we had DMPs as the DC in the 3-4 setup. And honestly, I know with 3-4 and 4-3, it's really just an alignment thing, and really the part that changes is what you do in coverage, because now you might have a guy who's on the line of scrimmage fall back in coverage and stuff like that. But still, we carried over a lot of that momentum from last year. I think we'll be able to field a average or above average defense for sure, and we'll have something to build off of going forward there. And the biggest silver lining to remember in all of this is that it's just one game, right? The last time the Falcons went to the Super Bowl in 2016, they were at home. They had the Jameis Winston-led Bucks. Famous Jameis threw not one, not two, not three, but 4 touchdowns against the Falcons, and we lost at home to the Bucks, who didn't even make the playoffs that year. So it's not even like, all right, we lost to a good Bucks team in week 1, and then we went on our run, but the Bucks made the playoffs too. So that excuses that loss. Like they came in, they ran it up on us, and that team wasn't even good enough to make the playoffs. But then after that game, the Falcons, who I don't remember who they played after that. I want to say it was Oakland, but I might be wrong. But they did obviously what they did that year, and a lot of things we didn't expect happened that year. So the offense looked way better than it had looked in that game. Defense looked way better down the stretch than it had looked all game, and that was 2016. This is 2017, but 2024. But like I said, none of that changes about it being one game, and it's one game in the 17 game season as opposed to a 16 game season, which that one was, and it wasn't a division game, it wasn't even a conference game, so it's a loss against a tough opponent. I know it had to be extra hard watching Tampa score 37, beat Washington 37-20, watching the Saints beat the Panthers 47-10. Just remember, as far as draft position, those teams were 1 and 2 as far as the worst and the second worst teams in the league as far as record go. I know Chicago had Panthers pick. That was the worst and the second worst teams in the league. So, that doesn't take anything from their performances, because we Falcons fans, we know that the Falcons would have played both of them teams, and if they won, it would have came down to a last-second field goal. But let's just keep perspective on all of this. We ain't done. It's not over. We're just going to see what happens with the rest of the year before we start cashing stock on Kirk Cousins or cashing stock on Zach Robinson. Let's just go ahead, stay positive, see the silver lining, and keep an eye on them. I'll also drop another video about the preview of the Steelers game. Excuse me, not the Steelers game. Man, them Pennsylvania teams, man, they all look the same. It's like that little Peter Parker meme where they're all Pittsburgh, they're all Pennsylvania. But yeah, we got the Eagles coming up. I'll drop a video on that one as well, previewing it, mainly because I watched the Eagles play the Packers, so I feel like I got something to contribute there. I don't like to necessarily do a preview of a team I haven't been watching, but I did watch that game. So I really appreciate you taking some time with me. If you like the video, make sure you like and subscribe. Please comment. I did not realize until I saw the last video that apparently comments were off, so I think I got them switched on this time. If you got something to say, or if you got something to add or something I missed, please let me know. I would love to hear that. Thank you for your time. You have a great day, and we'll catch you in the next one.